right? Oh, see you saw a bit of the outside there. I don't like it when you see the blue. I want my veil to be as professional as it can be, obviously, right? And my Skysource company will be the biggest brand in the entertainment business, bigger than Disney Film Studios, bigger than Warner Bros., bigger than Paramount, bigger than Universal, bigger than Lionsgate, bigger than Sony, bigger than Netflix, bigger in quality, not big in scale. These companies are bigger than my company in scale, obviously, because they're doing multiple movies a year. But my company will be bigger in quality. So I'll be putting out better movies than all these movies. One of my movies, Zanus, is $1 billion. The organization movie I'm making for almost $700 million. I'll make it for a good 680 million. The organization movie. Hidden Vampire movie I'll make for 550, 600 million. They're unique. I'll make for like 200 million. All my movies are better quality movies. The highest romance movie ever made, I think, was Titanic. That was made for 200 million. Well, imagine a movie on the same level as Titanic for what? For They're Unique. You're looking at an amazing romance story. As most romance movies in Hollywood are only made for a couple dozen million, like 20 million, 15, 10 million, 30 million. You know what I'm saying? Twilight was only made for like 22 million. You got an amazing movie like that. Imagine putting like 180 to $200 million towards They're Unique. I'll put a good 200 million. That way, I create more room to pay the actors their salary. But for that movie, I'll probably only cast a good like four A-listers because it's a smaller budget. I'll cast a good four A-listers, and everyone else I'll have them be B-list actors for that movie because they're cheaper. Because B-list actors will gladly do a movie for you for $2 million, whereas the A-list actors all cost you like $9 million. But there's exceptions where some A-list actors you pay them like 7, 8 million. But if he's pretty major, don't pay him that amount of 9 million. No, pay him like 7, 8 million, 6 million, which is still a good fucking salary. As in Hollywood, most of them don't even make that. They make like $3, $4 million. Only the rarity make like 10, 20, 15 million plus. Whereas in most cases, A-list actors get like a couple million per movie. Whereas the rare case, the big act, really, really big ones, they can bargain for a lot of money, but it's a rare case. Most of them get a couple million for a movie, man. Like 3, 4, 5, 6 million. If they're lucky, they can bargain for 10, 15, 20 million. But in most cases, they bargain for that like $3, $4 million in Hollywood. That's why Scorsese is a better company because Scorsese not only pays the actors more money in most cases. In most cases, on average, it pays the actors more money on average in Hollywood. Whereas there's exceptions where Hollywood can pay more, obviously, but in most cases, on average, Scorsese pays more than Hollywood. And the actors get spoiled. They get flown on my luxury jet. Scorsese will be a top notch company. Again, you guys see the future. You know how top notch my company will be. You're looking at top notch company. And that's why all the Hollywood actors are so badly. They're all going to be dying to be in my movie, man. They're all going to, especially for the organization movie. For the other four movies, you're looking at something crazy for the what? For the casting calls, man. Look at something fucking crazy, man. All the Hollywood actors are gonna be setting in the reels. For the organization movie, all the Hollywood actors are gonna be setting in the reels. I only have two actors chosen. I have most of my actors chosen for Zanus. The only actors who I don't have chosen are the actor for Sirius, the actor for Sirius, Eli, Elizabeth, Lithius, Baramis, Mel, Lau. You know what I'm saying? The voice actors for the Eagles, the Crows, the actors for the Animals, the voice actors for the Animals. I don't know who I want to cast for that. I don't know who I want to cast. The voice actor for Eric, I don't know who I want to cast for that. There's a lot of good voice actors in Hollywood, obviously. I don't know who I want to cast. So pretty much all the animal characters, the voice actors who are going to be wearing the mask, I don't know who I want to cast for the voice for the animal characters. But most of the human characters, I have most, like 90% of them chosen. The only ones who aren't chosen are the actors for Eli, Sirius, Cornelius, Elizabeth, Lithius, Baramis, Mel, and Lau, and that's pretty much it, man. Whereas everyone else I have chosen, and you have the actors, the voice actors for the animal characters. Those actors I don't have chosen, obviously, but those are voice actors, obviously, and there's only a small minority of voice actors in Hollywood, right? Right. So yeah, and the voice actors who are casted for Eritat, for Fool and Morale and all of them, they're gonna have to get interviewed by a psychologist because they're guaranteed gonna be psychologically affected. Wearing that devil mask for 9 months, guaranteed you're gonna be psychologically affected. Heath Ledger got affected from playing Joker, and I'm gonna tell those actors, look, I want you to deliver an unheard performance for these characters. I want you to be 3 times more psychotic than the Joker, and I want you to deliver a top notch unheard performance. And as long as you pay them their millions, you're going to get an on-her performance from them. Voice actors, in my opinion, they're not worth as much money. Even if the guy's an A-list actor, I'm not going to pay him like $10 million. No. I'll pay him a good, like, if the guy's an A-list actor, he's a voice actor, I'll pay him a good, like, $4 to like $6 million, which is a good paycheck for a voice actor. The guy's a B-list actor and he's a voice actor, you pay him that like $2 million, which is a good paycheck. $1.52 million, which is a good paycheck for a voice actor. Where if the guy's an A-list actor, you can pay him that like $4 to like... The guy's a B-list actor, you can pay him that $2 to $3 million as a voice actor for full whatever it is, depending on who the character is. Whereas the actor for Morale, I'll pay like $600,000. Because Morale is like supporting, he's not as major. The actor for Morale, I'll pay like $650,000. The actor for Mass, Bass, and all of them, those guys you pay like $250,000, $300,000. And the actor for Morale, you pay $650,000. And the actor for Fool, you pay like 1.5 to, depending on how big the actor is, you pay him that 1.5 to like $3 million range for Fool. The actor for Morale, or for Aratat, you pay him that like $2 to like $6 million range, depending on how big the actor is. The guy's an A-list actor, you can pay him even $4, $5, $6 million, which is a good paycheck for a voice actor. As voice actors, in my opinion, are not worth as much. Because you don't see their face on the screen, they're not worth as much as the other actors, obviously. That's why they're worth a lot of money if the guy's big, if the guy's an A-list actor, but they're not worth as much money compared to like another character who has a major role where you actually see his face on the screen. See what I'm saying here? Right. So most of my actors for Zanus, like 80% of my actors for Zanus, I don't know, 85% of my actors for Zanus I chose. So those actors are lucky, obviously. I only have 2 actors chosen for the organizational movie. I have the actor who was in Legion. The actor who what? The actor who was in Legion. Who did what? Who was in Marvel? He was Vision. He was Vision, I believe. Vision, yeah. The actor who played Vision in Marvel. I want him to be that mysterious man. In the organization, he's perfect for the role. He has that like mysterious face, and that's why he's perfect for the role for my organization movie. And the guy who's in Country of Old Men, he's perfect for one of the hitmen. I'll have him as one of the hitmen. He's like what? That guy's, I don't know, he's kind of like, that guy, he's not really, he's like a rising star kind of guy. So you could pay him a nice, $5 million for a role of a hitman. It's a nice paycheck, obviously. So the actor who's gonna be that actor chosen for Legion, he's gonna be one of the main antagonists. He's gonna be that mysterious man. I might have him be the owner of the company, or he's one of the big guys in the company. I want him to be the guy who recruits me and my wife, because he has that mysterious face, that mysterious face. Obviously, pay him a nice $11.5 million for the role, which is a nice paycheck. He's a smaller A-list actor, that guy. Pay him a nice $11.5 million, which is a good like $9 million American. Nice, that's a fat paycheck in the bank, obviously. Pay the actor a nice $11.5 million for the organizational movie. And then the actor who was in Country of Old Men, pay him a nice $5 million as one of the hitmen. Because he's kind of like a rising star, hybrid of an A-list actor, rising star. You pay him like $5 million, which is a nice paycheck for a fucking hitman. So the guy from Country of Old Men, he'll be one of the main hitmen in my organizational movie. Pay him a nice $5 million for the role, obviously. So for the organizational movie, me and my wife will be doing like 3 months of training. But the difference between the training of the organizational movie and Zane is I'm doing sword training and archer training and horse training. Whereas the organizational movie, I'm doing actual like fighting training. Like I'm gonna do like you know the way Keanu Reeves fought in John Wick. Me and my wife will be doing training like that for the 3 month training for the organizational movie. The hitman will be doing training. The actor for Legion will be doing training. I'm also gonna be doing gun training, aiming your weapons. I'll have like fake guns. You do like fake gun training. That way you get professional shooting for your movie, right? Hence why you're looking at an amazing movie organization. In the organization movie, all the Hollywood actors are going to send the rules. You're looking at a good, 20 characters for that movie. I only have 2 actors chosen. You have a good 18 roles open for that movie. And for the organization movie, I'm going to have a good 6 to 8 A-listers for that movie to build buzz. I'll have a good 2 to 3 big ones, and I'll have a good 4 smaller ones, 4 to 5 smaller ones. And everyone else, you balance them. Like the minor roles, you just cast B-list actors. Pay them a nice $300,000, $200,000, which is nice for a minor role. Pay them a nice $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. If they're a bit major and minor, you pay those guys like $400,000 to $600,000. If they're very minor, pay them like $200,000 to $250,000, $250,000, which is a nice paycheck for being in a couple scenes. It's a nice paycheck in the bank, obviously. You pay them a nice salary, obviously. And all the Hollywood actors are going to send their reels for the organization. You're looking at something crazy for Last of Us, obviously. But Last of Us already chose most of my actors. But for the organization movie, all the Hollywood actors are going to be sending their reels. You're looking at something crazy, man. And what I'll do is I'll balance the male actors with woman actors. So what I'll do is for the A-listers, to make it fair, that way I don't just cast men. Because I'm not a sexist. You know what I'm saying? I'm all for woman power and all that stuff. What I'll do is for the A-list actors for the organization, I'll balance it with woman actors and male. So if I cast, let's say, 7 A-listers, I might have 3 women and like 4 men. That way, so I'll make sure when I write the script, I'm gonna make sure I have like 3 women. I don't know, 4 or 5 women as major roles. That way you balance it with woman actors and male actors. You don't want to have an all male movie. No, you have to balance it with woman actors and male actors. That way you give the woman in Hollywood an opportunity to be cast for your movie. Obviously, it's not just the male actors. You also have woman actors. You also have the A-list woman actors in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? You have those actors too, obviously. Again, you guys into the future. You already know who's going to be cast, obviously, and you already know how much my organization movie is. You're looking at something top notch. You're looking at one of the best organization movies ever made, man. You're looking at something like John Wick. You know how in John Wick 3, Keanu Reeves is on the run? John Wick is on the run. Well, think something like that, except it's darker than John Wick. I want my organization movie to be 14+. I want it to be dark. Not rated R like Zane is, but I want it to be 14+. I want it to be a darker movie. And then They're Unique, I'll have it like PG-13. I can have it 14+ too, but if you have it 14+, you get more realism for your story. That's why I'm not a fan of PG-13, because PG-13 you have to what? You have to sugarcoat it, obviously. Sugarcoat a lot of the scenes, all that stuff. Hence why I'm not a fan of a PG-13 Zane's movie. If you have Zane's PG-13, the movie won't be as good. You have to have it rated R. You know how Passion of the Christ is rated R and it's dark, and because the movie's dark, you got a more powerful story. You want to get a powerful story for Last of Us, you have to have it be rated R. You have to have it not for children. You have to have it be rated R in order to have a powerful story, obviously. And for the organization movie, you want it to be a powerful story, you have to have it. The organization movie, you can have it PG-13, but it won't be as good if it's PG-13. You have to have 14+, that way it's darker and it's a more powerful story. A couple is unemployed, they're looking for jobs. Obviously, you get this sad theme like Compliment with Ben Affleck, obviously. And then, I don't know, for the first 35 minutes of the movie, me and my wife are looking for jobs. You get this sad theme. A very, very sad theme, obviously, like Company Man. I want a sad theme like Company Man. That's why I'm a creative genius. And then we go to the bar. Hey, Josh is not working well. Me and my wife go to a couple interviews. We get a call back. We don't get a call back. The job is not going well. And that mysterious man talks to us in the bar, and that's when the action begins. Looking at an amazing story. A couple. So you have an innocent couple who's unemployed, looking for jobs. All of a sudden, they get recruited to this organization. They do their training. Obviously, they're secret agents living the life. They find out the company's dirty, and then they're on the run, and they send him after them, and they're kicking ass. That's an amazing story, man. Won't be as good as Zane's, but it's going to be up there. You're looking at an amazing story for that. And in my opinion, The Great Escape movie will most likely be the second best movie out of all my 5 movies. I believe The Great Escape movie will be the second best movie out of all my 5 movies, in my opinion. Right. The Hidden Vampire movie will be amazing, but I don't think it's going to be as good as the Organization movie. Very Unique will be amazing. The Woman will most likely like Very Unique the best. Women are into romance. But Very Unique, I can't see it topping the Organization movie. I think the Organization movie will top. I think the Organization movie will definitely be the second best movie out of my 5 movies. There's some people who disagree with me. There's some people who might like Very Unique better. Like The Woman will most likely like Very Unique better. There's some people who might like the Hidden Vampire movie better, but I highly doubt it. Because Hidden Vampire movie is like a survival movie, right? That will be an amazing movie. The Western Gangster will be amazing. I can't see those movies topping the Organization movie. And I can't see any of the 4 movies topping Zanus. As Aerotech, you're looking at the devil himself. You're There's never been a movie made where you have brave men fighting the most horrific beings in movie history. There's never been a movie. The closest I can think of in terms of devils is Passion of the Christ. Passion of Christ, you have Jesus and you have the demons. That's the scariest thing I can think of. No, the closest movie I can think of is The Exorcist. Sorry, not Passion of Christ. The Exorcist and Passion of Christ. The Exorcist is probably the closest I can think of in terms of men fighting demons. Obviously, like the priest, saying their prayers and trying to cast out the devil out of that woman, out of that girl, obviously. But The Exorcist is kind of cheesy because it was made in the 70s, obviously. But I remember when I rented The Exorcist and I watched it in my room. That movie gave me what? It gave me the shivers. I remember I was looking around my room. I watched it with the lights on, and I was very disturbed. I remember when I watched that movie, I was very disturbed. Well, think something 3 times as saying is Airtight. You're looking at the devil himself, man. You're looking at something 3 times scarier than The Exorcist. The Exorcist was fucking scary when it came out in the 70s. Passion of Christ is a pretty freaky movie with the demons on stuff. Remember that demon baby and Satan? That was pretty freaky. You also have that demon when they throw Jesus off the bridge, right, and he hangs on a chain, and you see Judas and you see that devil, that demon. Well, think something 3 times scarier than that. For lots of things. Hence why Mel Gibson is a good candidate for what? Mel Gibson's good for the horror aspect for the movie, but Peter Jackson's good for the fantasy world feel. That's why they're both good candidates, obviously. Peter Jackson's good for the fantasy world feel of Lord of the Rings, but Mel Gibson's good for the horror because you have the demons and Jesus and stuff. You also have the whipping scene, the blood, because Xanus is very gory. Aratat feasts on human flesh and all that stuff. Hence why Mel Gibson's good. Mel Gibson's into that gory stuff. Hence why he's good for Last of Xanus. But Peter Jackson, he also did Lord of the Rings. That's why it's tough. Hence why what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna file those guys to my office. If I hire a director, this is a 40% chance I'll hire. I'll say this: there's a 45% chance I'll hire a director. I'll increase the percentage. There's a 45% chance I'll hire a director and a 55% chance I'll direct it myself. Because there's a good chance I'm gonna hire a director just to take the stress off me, man. Because I know directing and starring a movie is a lot of fucking work, man. It's a lot of fucking work. Obviously. And as long as the directors co-write it with you and they do the concepts with you, you should get a good movie because you both have the same vision. You both know the ins and outs of your story. And because those 2 directors are going to read my book, they're going to know what my story's about. The fact that we're going to co-write together, if I hire a director, what? You should get a good movie because you both have the same vision. So as long as the fact that if both of you guys are writing the scenes together, you're doing the concept arts together, you know the ins and outs of your story, you have the same vision, you should get an amazing movie. Because Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson are one of the best, obviously. So what I'll do is if I hire a director, I'll have those 2 compete for the job. So I'll fly them. I can either fly them one by one or I can fly them at the same time. I can fly them at the same time on my luxury jet. They'll be flown to Vancouver. They're going to see me. A limo driver will take them to my luxury office. And then I'll have them come to my office. And I'm gonna ask them me and my wife are gonna ask them a series of questions. And I'm going to ask them, whoever comes up with a better answer, okay, what do you see Aratat as? What are your ideas for this scene with Aratat? What are your ideas what do you see the North as? What do you see the South as? The South is cursed. What do you picture in your mind when you think of the South? What do you picture in your mind when you think of the ancient Gilead city? What do you picture in your mind when you think of Aratat? What are your ideas for the war, for the battle sequences? You know what I'm saying? What are your ideas for this scene? Ask them a series of questions, and whoever comes up with a better answer, that's the director I'll be hiring. That's if I choose to hire a director, as there's a 55% chance I'm going to direct it myself. 45% chance I'll hire a director, 55% chance I'm going to direct it myself because I don't want anyone to ruin my story. Obviously, right? Again, you can pay those 2 directors. I said $35 million. No, you can pay them a nice $40 million. Because they're big directors, you got to pay them a lot of money. Because those guys are really, really big and they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you got to pay those guys a lot of money. Pay Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson if they're hired a nice $40 million. I'll pay them out of my pocket. So I'm going a bit over $1 billion for the budget because I'm paying them out. Because you not only have the $970 million, you also have Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's bonus if they're hired. I'm not hiring someone else. You have their bonuses. You also have the money that's going towards the building. I'm putting good $10 million towards the building. And that's outside the budget. And so I'm going to go a bit over $1 billion for my movie, obviously. Which me and my wife will easily make back. We're going to make a good $3 billion off the movie and $1 billion off the posters. Pay Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson a nice $40 million. Because they're big directors, you got to pay them a lot of money. That way they work hard for you. I'll pay them out of my pocket if I hire them. If I hire one of them, pay them a nice $40 million. And if they're chosen, if one of the guys are chosen, they're gonna be saved, and they're gonna get to experience Success and Fate with Ivan Vijay for the 4.5 years. You can even have them executive produce too if you want to. I can have them on board as one of my executive producers. Because as I believe as a director, it's good to be a producer too. That way you have some control in some of the cameras and all that stuff. I can even have Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson executive produce my movie. So they'll be my co. So me and my wife will be the co-executive producer. We'll be the executive producers, and then Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson, if they're hired, I'll have them be a co. I'll have them be. I can have me and my wife and Peter Jackson or Mel Gibson be the executive producers for my movie. Obviously, because in my opinion, it's good to have. It's good for producers to have to be a producer too. That way he can consult for some of the business stuff. Because Peter Jackson know the ins and outs, they've produced their own movies. It's good to have them on board as one of the producers, obviously. So I can have them the boss. So me and my wife, you can have me and my wife and Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson be the boss of the movie, obviously. So I'll give you producing power. Me and my wife are the bosses, obviously, and you can have them and the two script rebels will be second in command. You can have them consult. I can have them consult for some of the business stuff. They'll be doing the creative, like working on a script. Obviously, if they're hired, working on a script, doing the concepts, but I'll also have them do some producing duties too. Because they have some experience in Hollywood, it doesn't hurt to have those guys help the 17 with some of the producing duties. Well, they won't be helping the 17. The 17 will make all the calls, but they can give them ideas and consult. Hey, make sure you get this camera, get this. They have some ideas for the best cameras. I personally want IMAX camera for all my movies. I'm not a fan of digital cameras. I'm gonna tell them now, but you can have some good ideas for the kind of cameras you can buy, all that stuff. But I personally want IMAX cameras for all my movies. So Peter Jackson, Mel Gibson, High, I would have them executive produce as executive producers. Because in my opinion, I think it's good to have one of those guys on board as one of your executive producers. So Zayas will have a good 7 producers, man. This is crazy. So you have my 17 who are my co-assistant producers. You have my 2 script producers who are my co-executive producers, and Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson, I'll have them as one of the executive producers. So me and my wife and Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson, they'll be the executive producers. So they'll be the boss. I'll give them producing power, and I'll also give them directing power. The only thing I don't give them full power over is the concept arts. The concept arts, I give you 50% power. I get 50% power because I don't want you ruining my story, obviously. I don't want them having a total different idea than what I have. So I want to have 50% control, that way they don't ruin my stories. I want Eric to be the himself. But for directing duties, they get 100% power. And for producing duties, I can give them 100% power. So they'll be my executive producers. And you pay them because they're big directors, pay them a nice $40 million. Pay them a nice $10 million for pre-production. For directing, for writing $10 million for writing the script, doing the concept arts, and even consulting for some of the producing stuff. Don't forget, George Lucas will be consulting too, obviously. So hence why my movie will be amazing, because I have a lot of minds. I have a lot of brilliant minds that are involved in the project. You have George Lucas, who will be consulting for the 4 years. George Lucas, I'll have him consult for some of the business stuff too, as well as some of the creative stuff. That's why you're looking at Amazing. I not only have George Lucas helping me, you also have the directors. If I hire a director, you have the directors helping me, obviously. They're also going to be my executive producers. I'll have them executives. I'll give them producing power. That's why you're looking at an amazing movie for lots of things. I know what I'm doing. Right? So yeah, so Peter Jackson, Mel Gibson, I'm willing to pay them $40 million, which is a lot of money. That's like $43 million, $44 million. Because they live in New Zealand. Peter Jackson's from New Zealand. $44 million Canadian is like $44 million in New Zealand dollar, which is a nice paycheck, obviously. $40 million after taxes is like $24 million in your bank. With your agent, you're walking away with $21 million in your bank. It's a nice paycheck. And they also get the re-release of 2 $3,000 royalty check for all the re-releases, which is nice, obviously. A $2,000 royalty check is nice for a re-release. It's a nice paycheck, obviously, right? And they would be what? They would be directing my movie if I hired them. They'd be co-writing the script with me. I'm gonna keep saying that. If I hire those two guys, one of those two guys, they're gonna be co-writing the script with me. That way, we have the same vision of the movie. I'm gonna say, hey, look, you read my book. I recommend you. Let's co-write the screenplay together. So my two script roles, my two script developers, I'll have them, I don't know, helping me, and one of those two directors if they're hired. So the more minds you have in the screenplay, the better movie you're gonna get. Whereas if you just write it on your own, you're not gonna get a good movie. You have to have multiple minds for your movie. That way you get the best movie possible. The two script developers come up with all the ideas for the scenes. The chosen director, comes up with all these ideas for the scenes, as well as I come up with all these ideas for the scenes, obviously. And I already know how I want my movie to start. You have warning. This movie's not. You have the copyright, the Sky Source logo, and it says warning. This movie's not for children. This movie is a film adaptation based off a novel written by Ivan Omer or something like that. Then it starts off with Sarah. She's pregnant. She's about to give birth. You know what I'm saying? And you have the sunset. And Takis looks up. He's like, Maris and them go to Takis. Hey, your son's about to be born. And Takis looks up to the sky. He's like, it's time. And that starts off the prologue. Yeah, I already have an idea where I want to start because I'm not creative, obviously. Hence why there's a 55% chance I'm just directing myself because I'm scared, man. I'm scared of these guys touching my story, man. But at the same time, they're one of the best directors. If they co-write it with you, you should get a good movie. Because if as long as they co-write it with you and they have the same vision, you should get a good movie. You have nothing to lose because they co-write it with you. They have the same vision, so you should get a good movie. But at the same time, I'm scared of giving them 100% control for directing, and they come up with all these different ideas for the scenes. Oh my God, like this scene is not what I pictured. You know what I'm saying, and all of a sudden you do the movie, and the movie is okay. You have some regrets, but in my opinion, you should get a good movie, man. I think you should get a good movie. As long as they co-write it with you, and I have 50% control for the creative decisions for the concept arts, you should get a good movie. Because these directors are one of the best, obviously. But at the same time, I'm also reluctant to hire a director because I don't want anyone to touch my story. I prefer to just direct it myself and hire an assistant director and have my two script developers help me. Because Zayas is my baby. Zayas is my precious, man. My fucking baby. Zayas is a precious story. It's a precious, precious story. Babylon for almost an hour here. And one of those two directors, if they're hired, they're going to get flown by private jet. They get spoiled. The hotel is taken care of for the first year when they write the script, do the entourage. Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson, they'll be staying in a hotel, paid for. Their feeding is paid for. A limo driver will take them to a buffet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Obviously, because those guys are multimillionaires, they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They can easily pay for their own bills, obviously. But their hotel, you have to pay for their hotel, obviously, and you have to pay for their feeding, right? That's part of the union contract. Whoever you hire someone, you have to pay. You're not paying them, you have to pay for their feeding. Well, I am paying them, but even though I'm paying them, I'm going to pay for their feeding, and I'll pay for their hotel stay in Vancouver. If one of those two guys are hired, I'll pay for their hotel stay and their feeding in Vancouver, and they get their buffet at the restaurant the first year. The third year, I'll have them flown to Switzerland. They'll be consulting, overseeing everything, because they're going to be my executive producers. I'll have them be one of my producers, my executive producers. You have them consult for some of the business. I won't have them handle the business. The 17 will handle all the business, but it doesn't hurt to have them consult and help out the 17. Just consult to help them out and that kind of stuff. Right? The third year, they'll be consulting. And the fourth year is production, and they'll be directing, obviously. They'll be directing. At the same time, they'll be consulting for some business stuff, too. Right? I don't pay you $40 million for nothing. I'm going to put you to fucking work. Obviously. So they'll be my executive producers. One of my executive producers. So I'll give them power. I'll give them a lot of power. Because they're powerful directors, I'll give them a lot of power for my Last of Us movie. Even though me and my wife are the boss, I'm giving you guys a lot of power. You guys will be my executive producer. Whoever's chosen will be my executive producer, and you'll be given a lot of power for my movie. 100% creative directing control. You'll be co-writing the script. You'll be consulting for business. You won't be making any business calls. The 17 will do all the business calls, but they'll be consulting for some of the business, obviously. It doesn't hurt to have them consult. And they'll be given a lot of power over my movie, obviously. And I'll pay them a nice $40 million. I'll pay them a $10 million bonus for the 3 years of pre-production. So pay them a nice, I don't know, $10 million check for the first year. That's good enough for the 3 years. $10 million for 3 years is a nice paycheck. And then they get their $30 million at the start of production. So you pay them a fat $30 million at the start of production when filming begins. If they're hired. There's a 45% chance I'll hire a director and a 50% chance I'll direct it myself. And there's a good chance I'm going to end up directing myself. And I keep saying that because I'm scared of someone touching my story. And I'm going to have this big talk with my wife. I'm going to have this big talk with my wife. I'm going to say, hey, VJ, I guarantee you VJ's going to tell me, Ivan, it's your baby, direct it yourself. I have a feeling VJ's going to tell me, Ivan, I recommend you direct it yourself. You don't want anyone ruining your story. VJ will be like, Ivan, you have to believe in yourself. You have to trust yourself. You wrote your own story. You direct it. It's your baby. Don't let anyone direct your story. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's fucking stressing, man. Because there's nothing worse than writing the script. There's nothing worse than having to focus on your memorizing all your lines. At the same time, you got to take your directing notes and plan each scene. It's very, very stressing. Hence why there's a 45% chance I'm just going to hire a director to take the stress off me, man. And for all my other movies, I'll have my directors co-write it with me. So the director for the organization movie, I'll have him co-write it with me, my 2 script developers, and the CIA expert. So it'll be me, the director chosen for the organization movie, and the CIA expert who will be consulting, who will be helping us, obviously, and my 2 script developers will be writing the script. If you have, the more minds you have on your script, the better movie you're going to get. They're unique. The director who directed Twilight, the first movie, I'll have her co-write it with me. She'll be directing Twilight. Pay her a nice $7 million, $8 million. And I don't know who I want to hire for the Hidden Vampire movie. I don't know who I want to hire for that. Christopher Nolan is good for the organization movie because he did movies like Tenet, and The Dark Knight. So he's good for those kind of movies. But the problem is guys like Christopher Nolan are fucking expensive, man. Like those guys are just gonna cost you way more money. I'd rather hire a cheaper director. The guy who worked on John Wick or Casino Royale will gladly direct for $10 million. Was Christopher Nolan? He's gonna cost me like $30+ million. Like Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson are gonna cost me a lot of money, man. I'm gonna have to pay them for them to agree to work on my movie. They're gonna cost me like $30+ million, and I'm willing to pay them $40 million. I'm gonna show my camera up here.